Hi, welcome to Coffee Break. We have a very informative show today. Our guest is Robin Flipsy, who is nationally known. She is a registered dietitian and a nutrition consultant, and she's going to separate fact from fiction today when it comes to food. So be prepared to have a lot of your ideas turned upside down. We will have Robin come on in just a moment, but first I do want a quick reminder that we're coming close to ending our Exactly Egg Recipe contest. So if you haven't done so already, be sure to drop off your egg recipe at the studio here. There's a box where it's marked, and we're looking for egg recipes for brunch, breakfast, or lunch. And we're going to have our chefs, our own Seabrook chefs, select 3 finalists who will prepare the recipes and bring them on for final judging. And the prizes are a $75 gift certificate from Wegmans. Second prize is a $50 gift certificate from Wegmans. And third prize is a $25 gift certificate from Wegmans. So be sure to enter very, very soon, because we're coming to the end and we're going to have the finals later this summer. And now let's meet Robin Flipsy. Robin, you're going to destroy some ideas, I think, that people have about food. And the first one I'd love you to deal with. We hear a lot about eating brightly colored fruits and vegetables, that they have the most nutritional value, and that the white things in our diet are not that healthy for us nutrition-wise. True or false?
False. And it is one of those ideas that seems to have taken off, that the color of a fruit or vegetable is a real sign of its value. And it left some important fruits and vegetables in the dark, even though they're white. But things that I have illustrated here make my point. Cauliflower is a white vegetable, and it's a member of the cabbage family, just like broccoli, just like Brussels sprouts, just like cabbage. And it is extremely nutritious and an important source of nutrients that you can't get from a red vegetable or orange vegetable. I was
reluctant. It's one of my favorite veggies. I love it uncooked for dips, and I love it cooked. In fact, my mother used to mash it up with sauteed onions and make balls out of it like potatoes, little
yummy.
Breadcrumbs. And that's great to know. And mushrooms, another favorite.
Right. Mushrooms, many people would have thought are just a condiment, almost something to throw on top of a salad or on a steak, but they are now recognized as a valuable source of vitamin D, which we're all deficient in, and they not only provide great flavor, but a source of nutrients that, again, you don't get in any of the other colorful vegetables. I even want to point out the importance of the potato, mainly because of the potassium. There is more potassium in that one potato than in a banana, and yet many people think eating a banana every day is the pathway to potassium. And potatoes only get a bad rap if they're prepared with a lot of fat or sour cream or butter, but on their own they are extremely nutritious, many other vitamins and fiber.
And now in season, pears, a favorite, and white.
And white.
And healthy.
Right. Yes, pears are one of the fruits that are highest in fiber in a single serving. And again, I don't think it's fair to overlook all of those white vegetables and white fruits that should be a part of our diets, and it's recommended in our dietary guidelines, recommended by the American Heart Association, and maybe we've just been a little bit too willing to accept the color scheme as the sign of good nutrition, when anything that's a fruit or a vegetable, in my book, is worth eating.
Okay. Now, next question. And this is another thing that I have fallen prey to, and that is the eating late at night promotes weight gain. I have had so many people say that you should not eat anything after 7 o'clock and eat an early dinner. That's fiction?
That is fiction. The simple answer to what makes us gain weight is when we eat more calories by the end of the day than we have burned off in our physical activity. And it does not matter what time of day you consume those calories. You could have one meal a day, first thing in the morning, and if it has enough calories in it, one of those big breakfasts with the eggs and the omelets and the pancakes and the sausage and the toast and the butter, You don't have to eat the rest of the day. You can still gain weight if you exceed your calorie requirements. The point about eating at night that I think needs to be corrected is that it's mindless eating because we're typically doing it while watching TV or maybe reading or distracted. So if you sit with a bowl of delicious pieces of candy like that and you're engrossed in a show, you're going to keep eating without any attention being paid to serving size, and you can end up with a lot of calories just because you were eating mindlessly. In the Reese's Pieces, the serving size is 51. Now, I don't know too many people who count out their Reese's Pieces, but that's what's expected if you want to have a single serving, which delivers 200 calories and 55 milligrams of sodium, 21 grams of sugar. And the reason I put the peanut butter cups out here is it's easier to count. 5 of them is a serving, and you have the wrapper as evidence that you've eaten them. So if you count out 5 and you ball up the little foil, you can actually look back and say, oh yeah, I had 5. But if you sit in front of that bowl of Reese's Pieces, your hand goes in the bowl into your mouth without any sense of how many you've eaten. Same with popcorn. Here's a big bag. If you have the bag open in front of you, you're very likely to eat too much. The serving size is 3 cups. If you put it in a dish, at least you'll stop when the dish is empty. Everyone I know likes ice cream at night, and this is even a reduced fat ice cream. But there's a serving, and the half-cup serving is maybe too small for some people. But
who
even
eats
if
a half a cup of ice cream?
Granted, I don't happen to think that's a fair serving. But if you take a dish and put it in, you may be a little bit more likely to control the serving size in a smaller dish rather than a big bowl. And I've always recommended to my clients that they use a wine glass because it tends to be a smaller goblet. You can hold it by the stem so your hands don't get cold, and you really can't get much more than maybe a cup of ice cream in there. So it helps you feel like you're getting a full dish, but it's really by starting out with a smaller glass to use.
So it's not what you eat in the evening or how late you eat, it's the amount that
Correct.
you eat.
And when you're eating mindlessly, watching television or distracted and not paying attention to serving sizes. So there's calorie comparisons for all of these items that I can share with you that people can watch on the screen and see that here's a serving size, but if you eat the whole bag or the whole box,
you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, next, let's talk about high fructose corn syrup and sugar. Many people, and it has to be published certain places because many people feel that the high fructose corn syrup is terrible for you, much worse than sugar. True or false?
False, again. And it very much ties into the idea of quantities rather than individual ingredients really doing us harm. So I brought some samples in. Here's a 5-pound bag of sugar, 100% table sugar. Here it is in the sugar bowl. Here's a big bottle of ginger ale. And if you wanted to look at the label, you'd see it's sweetened with high fructose corn syrup. Now, the real question here is, how much of either of these are you eating? Because if you have lots of foods that have added sugar in them, you're eating donuts and cakes and ice cream and sweetened drinks, you may be exceeding what are the recommended number of servings. And the same can be said for anything sweetened with high fructose corn syrup. It's about the quantity.
Read the labels and watch the quantity.
Right, but if we just look at these two sweeteners, neither one is harmful on its own. They break down during digestion into the exact same components. They're considered sugars that are disaccharides, 2 sugar molecules together. When they're separated, you get glucose and fructose. That's all it is. And your stomach doesn't have eyes. It doesn't know which source of sweetener you use.
So we have to be alert.
Once you digest it, right?
Okay, well, in just a moment, we're going to talk about something that I think affects a lot of people, the word organic. So many of us think that organic is the answer to everything. Is it? In just a moment, we're going to ask Robin about organic foods. And now we're back with our very special guest, Robin Flipsy, who is a registered dietitian and a nutritionist and knows everything you want to know about food. What she's doing today is correcting some wrong ideas that a lot of us had about food. We've talked about separating fact from fiction, and now we're going to talk about organic foods. And here, so many people think that organic foods have more nutrition, that they're healthier, and they are willing to pay the extra money because it is more expensive, right?
It is.
Now, are foods labeled as organic actually more nutritious than non-organic foods, Robin?
And the answer to that is unequivocal sometimes. The real issue about the nutritional content of any plant is the quality of the seed you start with and the growing conditions, the quality of the soil, the amount of sunshine, and the rainwater. But what can enhance the nutrition is whether you can keep the pests and the bugs and the insects away so they don't destroy it, and whether you use fertilizers that help provide additional nutrients. So you can get both the best nutritional value whether you're using organic farming or conventional farming. It isn't only possible with organic. But the bigger point that I think people overlook is even if you have organically grown corn or potatoes or flour, what are you doing with it when you bring it home, or what kind of products is it used to make? So here's an example. These are 100% USDA organic sandwich cookies. So if you look at this package of organic cookies, what you'll see is the serving size is 2 cookies, and there's 130 calories in them, which is 65 calories each. Whereas if you look at the Oreo cookies, 3 of them counts as a serving, and that has 160 calories, but there's only 53 calories in each. So you actually get fewer calories buying the Oreos, and as you pointed out, they cost less, and they are lower in total carbohydrates, they're lower in sugar, and they're lower in sodium. So there's some advantages there. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which ones you eat, they're still cookies. It's still a food you should use in moderation and maybe not every day, and buying them organic doesn't change that.
Even though you'll be paying more money for them.
Oh, a lot more,
Yeah.
right. I also picked up these 2 bags of potato chips. Now, this one over here, right bold in the front, says it's 100% organic. It is made by the Kessel company. Here is their other brand. It's not organic, but it's an unsalted version of potato chips. And I think this is the better value because it has only 5 milligrams of sodium in a serving, which is, by the way, 13 potato chips, not the whole bag. And the organic ones are made with organic potatoes and organic oil to fry them, plus sea salt. So you get something more that you don't need when you're eating those organic potato chips. And again, I think you have to look more closely at the types of products you're buying and don't assume that just because it's organic, it's better for you.
Okay. Now we're going to come to something that we're going to get feedback on, I know, and that is sugar substitutes. Are they safe? At dinner the other night, I picked up, put into my iced tea, I picked up 2 packets of Sweet and Low. Well, very good friend who was dining at our table practically knocked it out of my hand. She said, "Don't you know that's terrible for you?" I said, "I don't think so." I said, "I have a good friend who is a top nutritionist and a registered dietitian, and we're going to have her on and we're going to talk about that." Are sugar substitutes not safe?
No, they are safe. That was a hard one to answer. The sugar substitutes I have displayed here and any that have been released in the food supply are safe. I say that without any hesitation. They are considered food additives. They are approved through the same process that any other food additive, and everything we eat just about has them, by the Food and Drug Administration for safety. They are viewed safe for pregnant women, lactating mothers, for children. But again, there is a question of quantity, and there are upper limits that have to be observed. And no one, and I mean no one, comes close to meeting those upper limits. When surveys are done to look at how much of any of these sweeteners people typically consume, they come nowhere near the 50 packets a day or 200 packets a day. So there would be no need to worry.
You'd have to really overindulge.
Correct. And even then, I say that person probably has some other dietary issues if you can be eating or drinking that much of a sweetener.
Now, there's so many different ones that people have favorites. As I said, the lady who grabbed the sweet and low out of my hand. She said, oh, you should only use Splenda. That's the only one that's good. Someone else at the table joined in and said, well, there's some new ones, Tuvia and Stevia. So why don't you give us a little rundown?
Sure. The pink one that you like, yes, is Sweet and Low, and that's the oldest one. It's been around the longest.
I think it's the least expensive, too.
Maybe. I'm not even sure about that, but it may be. And you are right. It's a matter of taste, because while they all provide some sense of a sweet taste, there's a little flavors that people can detect that make them like one more than another. But it is safe and, again, ideal for tabletop sweetening. For iced tea, it dissolves instantly. The yellow one is Splenda, is the national brand, but it's made from an ingredient called sucralose. Also a very effective sweet taste, very popular for tabletop, and not found in as many prepared foods, but more and more items are being made with Splenda now than before.
Yeah, I see them on labels.
Right.
The sugar.
The blue one is aspartame, and we know it by the brand name Equal, and very popular, the most widely used in soft drinks.
Is it really?
Yes, it has the best properties for shelf life in soft drinks and is found in all the national brands. And now the green packets, or green and white, are the stevia plant, one of the newcomers. And that's a very fresh, crisp green taste, not, again, as widely seen or found on tabletop. And then that orange one, that's nectress. Nectress.
Now that's rather new, isn't it?
Yes, it is made from the monk fruit, which is a little melon that grows in Asia, and monks used to cultivate it for their herbal medicines and so on. And the extract now that is being taken from that and used to make the orange packets.
Without a doubt, artificial sweeteners are safe. Don't be afraid of them. Again, you don't want to have huge quantities, but who does? I mean, who's going to have 50 packs a day? So I'm prepared for a little flack on this one, but that's okay, because we've heard it from the best. Robin Flipsy, our very special guest today. Thank you so very much for joining us. And we have other things. We're going to ask you back, because we want to talk about ground turkey being better for you than ground beef, gluten-free foods, that's going to make you get skinny, fact or fiction, and eating too many carbs or sugars can cause diabetes. So there's a lot of other foods that people maybe have misconceptions about. So thank you again, Robin Flipsy, and we look forward to having you back.
I'd love to come.
On Coffee Break. Thank you. We look forward to having you back and to having you enter our Exactly egg contest. So make sure that you get your recipe in. You could be a winner of that wonderful Wegmans food certificate, and you could be a guest on our show. Just drop your recipe in the special marked box in the TV studio here. And we look forward to receiving your recipes, and we'll look forward to meeting with you next time. Until then, Phyllis Kessel, thank you so much for joining us.